Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty unique. We're looking at the sort of surprising paths of some incredibly famous people and their time in the military. Specifically, how some huge names you definitely know unexpectedly crossed paths with the U.S. Army, sometimes before, sometimes right during their rise to fame. Yeah, and our deep dive today, it's actually based on this really fascinating article from the Army News Service. It's called The Army at 250, Fame and Valor. State Woodley Escarnay wrote it, and it just came out July 3rd, 2025. So our mission really is to unpack these different stories, figure out what drew these individuals to serve. Was it patriotism, duty, or maybe sometimes it was just the best option they had? And then we really want to dig into the impact, the lasting effect their time in uniform had on their lives and, their careers too. What really jumps out from the article right away is this central idea. The Army pulls people from, everywhere, all walks of life. It makes it really clear that, patriotism and being famous, they're not mutually exclusive at all. A lot of people go on to do amazing things outside the military, but there's this common thread, right? They all answered that call to serve.
Exactly. And what's so interesting is how that thread connects them, even though their experiences were so different. I mean, You're talking different eras, different wars or conflicts they supported. Some were drafted, like you said, others volunteered. But that service, it creates this bond. It's kind of amazing how such a demanding environment can actually help unique talents grow.
Okay, let's kick off with someone you might not immediately think of in this context, but his contribution, absolutely vital. The legend, Mel Brooks. Comedian, filmmaker. He was drafted, served in World War II, a combat engineer, part of the 1104th Engineer Combat Group.
Right, and his role was direct and really critical. Combat engineers, they're the ones building bridges under fire, clearing mines, dangerous stuff. Mm-hmm. Brooks was right there, Battle of the Bulge. He was actually helping clear German mines. Absolutely essential work, so Allied troops could move forward safely.
That's a huge detail. And Brooks himself, he had this great quote about it. He said, "The Army taught me discipline, respect, and how to survive. But it also showed me that laughter could get you through anything, even a war." It really makes you think, doesn't it? How that kind of intense life or death experience might have, shaped his comedy.
Oh, absolutely. That's a fantastic point. You could argue that the kind of deep absurdity in his films like Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs, it could very well be maybe a way he processed it all. Finding humor in the darkest places is definitely a unique kind of satire, maybe forged in the stark reality of being a combat engineer in wartime.
Okay, so from the king of comedy, let's shift to, the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley. He gets sworn into the Army March 24, 1958, right at the absolute peak of his fame. Served until 1960, did his basic training at Fort Hood, Texas, and then ended up stationed in Germany. 3rd Armored Division.
And it's not just that he served, but his actual job is interesting. Armor intelligence specialist. So he's gathering and analyzing info on enemy armor movements. That's a key role, especially for the 3rd Armored, right there on the Cold War front lines. And he even got promoted to sergeant before he left. So this wasn't just like a PR stunt. He had a real job to do.
Yeah, and he talked about it pretty openly. Presley said, "I had quite a few interesting experiences. Slept out in the snow, ate through rations. All in all, it's been a pretty good experience." But maybe even more telling, he also said, "I was welcomed and treated just like everyone else, which meant a lot to me." Imagine that. For someone living in that celebrity bubble, suddenly being treated like just another guy must have been quite grounding.
Absolutely. It's like a psychological reset that very few famous people ever experience. To go from being the king to just, Private Presley lining up for food with everyone else, it probably reinforced a certain humility, kept him connected, maybe even after his fame exploded again post-service.
Okay, from rock and roll royalty to a voice that just commands attention. James Earl Jones. His story, it adds another layer. He served during the Korean War era, commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant.
And here's where it gets really impressive with Jones. He went to Ranger School, and he earned his Ranger tab. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, that is an incredibly tough combat leadership course. Elite stuff. It's a massive achievement, marks you as a top soldier. Then he was assigned to the 38th Regimental Combat Team. That kind of intense training, you have to think it shaped the discipline, the gravitas we hear in his voice, see in his performances.
Speaking of commanding presences, Clint Eastwood often comes to mind. Hollywood's tough guy, right? Now, his military time, also during the Korean War era, wasn't quite the front lines like some others. He was drafted, but served as a lifeguard at Fort Ord, California, got discharged after the war. So a different kind of contribution, but still service during a pretty significant time. All right, next up, another music icon, Jimi Hendrix. And his enlistment story, it had a twist. He enlisted in 61, signed up for 3 years, became a paratrooper, 101st Airborne Division, legendary unit. But the reason?
Yeah.
Apparently, a judge gave him a choice. Go to jail or join the Army.
Yeah, and if you think about his career trajectory, his whole music thing really got going during his service. That's when he met bassist Billy Cox. They were both enlisted.
Yeah.
Started playing music together right there. That's quite the ultimatum from a judge, isn't it? Jail or the Army. It really speaks to maybe his resilience.
Yeah.
Or just that raw musical drive that he can not only get through it, but actually start his legendary career from that kind of situation.
Right.
Shows how unexpected opportunities can pop up even under pressure.
And let's bring it to a more contemporary example, one that really hits home. J.R. Martinez. He enlisted in September 2002, assigned as an infantryman, 2nd Battalion, 5th Infantry Regiment, also 101st Airborne.
And his story is just profound courage. April 2003, his Humvee hits a landmine in Iraq. He was severely injured, burned over a third of his body. The recovery was incredibly long, difficult, over 30 surgeries. It really highlights the immense sacrifices and just the unbelievable strength needed to overcome something like that.
Absolutely. He was medically discharged as a corporal in 2003, but his story, it didn't end there, not by a long shot. Martinez carved out this whole new path. Actor, author, motivational speaker. He's inspired so many people. Talk about transformation from soldier to this incredibly visible public figure.
So if you kind of synthesize all these different experiences, what really emerges isn't just, their bravery or their obvious talent. It's how the military experience itself acted as this unique crucible, maybe. For some, like Brooks or Hendrix, maybe you refined their art, exposed them to life's raw edges, or led to key collaborations. For others, like Martinez, it forced this incredible second act born from sheer resilience. The common thread seems to be that the military, despite all its structure, somehow provided the conditions, discipline, harsh reality, shared struggle that unlocked new facets of their talents. These stories, they really do continue to inspire service members today, and future soldiers too.
Yeah, it really drives home that closing thought from the article, doesn't it? Among all the people who've worn that Army uniform, each one of these stories proves that, with the Army, you really can be all you can be. Wow. What an incredible range of stories we've covered. It's genuinely fascinating to see how military service touched these public figures, often in these really profound, sometimes surprising ways. Ways that clearly, shaped their later lives and the work we all know them for. It's a connection I hadn't really thought about quite like this before.
It does make you wonder, right? What does it tell us about, the human spirit? That people, whether they're already famous or maybe destined for it, find things like discipline, purpose, even the very seeds of their future success in such a demanding place. How can these moments of shared, intense experience, like military service, influence the path of even the most unique, extraordinary talents? Something to definitely think about.